No,
I'm good. Yeah, yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
great
It's
stuff.
a nice sunny day, isn't it? Nice sunny day. So
Yeah, it wasn't so nice earlier, but it's got better as the day's gone on. I'm supposing that for you, Greg, it will be permanently sunny across the water there.
I wouldn't go as far as permanently sunny, but actually, it's just light from hell. It's just the flames. It's not real. It's a neon. It's a
Oh,
false light.
right. Okay. So how did you two guys sort of get together for the most recent EP?
there was it's called a Wheel of Collaboration, and it was on SLE Radio on Twitter. And so they wanted people just to put their names in, and they would pick people at random to write a song within a month. And you had a month to write it, and then they would play it on air. All you had to do is put "I'm in," and they would pick out names out of like a hat. But and so we got put together, and that's how it started.
And that was good. Yeah. So I suppose that's probably something that quite a lot of people may have kind of get caught up in, as a result of the whole pandemic situation and everybody being locked up for such a long time.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, because I might be wrong with this next statement, and if I am, I apologise, but I get the impression that you're both quite different as musicians. So was it difficult to kind of come up with something together that sort of suited both of you, as it were?
Actually, my turn. I'll take that one. Actually, we're very different, and just by the fact that we're from two different countries. I'm French, so I tend to think differently, maybe. I don't know. And I've been doing this for quite a long time, whereas Iona is on her way up, but for a very short time. And at the same time, we didn't know each other at all. It was really a chance meeting. So all this became a strength quite rapidly, because we had this song to write. We have one point in common, is that we are very thorough and quite stubborn. And so, but that we didn't know at the time. And so we got this song pretty quickly, because we had the backbone for it in just one day, actually. And that was pretty amazing for us, because we didn't know each other. We didn't know what we were doing, but what we came with in a matter of hours was great. It was just, no question for us. It was just great songs. So we decided to push further and to try and collaborate through time and distance, because there is also this element, that we never are in the same room. We only can exchange tracks and beats and stuff, and I think it's the gist of this collaboration too, because if we were in the same room, we would do things differently, and we are in a way children of COVID. We were bored because of COVID. We made music because of COVID, and we entered this wheel of collaboration because of COVID. And in fact, we did this EP, and we're talking to you because of COVID. So T-Rex had children of the revolution. We are the children of the COVID. So
it's interesting you should say that, because I've actually spoken to quite a few artists who have kind of come together collaboratively from different places, and often different genres of music. But because of the whole COVID thing, they've got involved, either they've met through Twitter or whatever it may be, and decided to, sort of put ideas back and forth. And I did ask somebody, and I'll ask you this as well. Do you think the process has been quicker because you're having to go backwards and forwards sending stuff, as opposed to being together in the same room and maybe clashing?
I don't know, because we're clashing you know, nonetheless, we have, I think we have the same clashes. It's just they take longer time because we're not in front of our computers all the time. So we're not always live when we're discussing the process. But I don't know, Iona?
I think, yeah, because you can't tell if I'm in a huff or not. So I'll just leave it and I'll go away and I'll not talk for a day or two. And he doesn't know that I'm in a huff, so it probably takes a little bit longer. If we're in the same room, I would say it, I'm in a huff, or we could just see if you would see my face. So I think it probably does take a little longer. But
yeah, because I mean, obviously, I used to play in a band many moons ago, and we didn't have this situation. So we would go into, rehearsal rooms or into studios, and rehearse and put together stuff. And I always felt that at times it took a lot longer because of the sort of, somebody would say, oh, but if we did it this way, maybe this would happen, and then, somebody else would jump in, and I was just wondering if, because you're doing it sort of remotely, is it where you put together something, you send it to Iona or vice versa, it might have made the process a little bit easier?
I'm not sure, because it would have been different, but actually you get to hear the final products of what we're working on. But even if we're working quite quickly, because we now have something like 12 demos, we still have the same arguments that we would have in a rehearsal space. I sometimes send back something that in my mind is a final track, and Iona will say, no, this is not what I see, this is not my landscape, I don't imagine this color and stuff. So I take my drums back and I come back with, I don't know, an accordion or anything. But it's this dialogue is from the start. We decided to take this collaboration thing very seriously. So this is a true collaboration, and this is the first time either one of us does this. To really share a songwriting, not just collaborate in a way that I have done and she has done. Of I will sing on your parts for this song, or I will write lyrics for your song, etc. But it's your song, my song. This is our project. These are our children in a way, and so this is very different for us, and this is very how do you call that in English? We nitpick a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may say so.
I don't. No, I
Iona, I can believe that.
This.
I can believe that.
No.
You're against Scottish lass, so you're unlikely to nitpick. So, thinking about sort of moving forward, I know that the situation is very fluid at the moment. 1 minute you're able to go someplace, then 20 minutes later you're told that you can't go there. Would you hope that perhaps at some point this year you might be able to sort of get together, maybe to perform, or even just to sort of meet up?
That would be great.
I don't know. I don't know about performing. I've never performed live, right. so yeah. This is all really new to me. This is all new. I'm willing to give it a go. I don't know if Clint would want me giving it a go. I'm not sure. But it's all new, so I'm happy to try and see how it goes.
Yeah. I think live performance is just the absolute best. It really is. I mean, obviously you're going to get nervous, because everybody does. Anybody who says to you that they never get nervous before a performance is lying big time. Everybody gets nervous. It's just about how you manage those nerves. And once you start, doing your own thing, you forget about the people that are out there in front, and you just get into the songs. And if you're part of a band, you get into whatever's happening on stage with the other people in the band. I don't know if you would agree with me on that, Greg.
Absolutely. I do miss a lot, the stage fright, actually. I've always seen this as a great engine, Yeah. I don't trust people who don't feel this fear, this scare. You have to do that. You have to feel this to surpass yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I remember that I always used to lock myself away for about 30 minutes prior to any performance and just kind of try to meditate. That was how I dealt with it. I know other people deal with it in different ways. Other people will stand there and scream their lungs out for, whatever length of time it takes. But I always think that doesn't help your vocal cords for a performance. And I know somebody who, they get so nervous that they actually break out in like a huge big rash. But it only lasts until, they actually start performing. And it's just a reaction, and everybody reacts differently. So I've had a wee listen to the tracks, and I must admit, compared to what I've heard from you, Greg, before, to what this duo is, I really like both of them. And they're different, but they're sort of similar in some ways. And I just think, I am really looking forward to actually putting a couple of the tracks on at the weekend. Because normally what will happen is when I've done one of these chats, I'll play, a couple of tracks during the programme, usually one prior to the Zoom being played, and then one after the Zoom being played, And I'm trying to make up my mind whether I should play one of yours on your own, and then, one of the two of you together, or just, use the two of you together. I've not made up my mind yet. Unless you guys can guide me, I'll probably end up making up my own decision.
I think to be fair, if you choose a song of mine, you should choose a song of hers too, because she has a solo career. She's our very own Liza Minnelli, so and or just choose two songs from the EP, because there is something for everyone. 4 tracks. Come on, 4 tracks, 4 moods, 4 universes, 4 atmospheres. Come on.
I mean, I suppose the fairest way to do it would be to actually do a couple of tracks from the EP, and then a track from each of you as solos, as it were. So it's 4 tracks that would get played. So whether or not I can fit them all in. Everybody thinks that 3 hours of a radio programme is a very long time, but it's not. It goes by quickly, just the same as when you're performing. It goes by quickly. But trying to sandwich things in, and I'm getting stuff sent to me all the time. So and I get people sending things to me like on a Saturday morning, and to put on the email, can this be on the today's show? And I'm like, no. No. Like today's show was probably put together 2 days ago, and if I put you in, who do I take out, So I always retain that sort of producer's hat, as it were, and my decision is final as to what happens and what doesn't happen, But yeah, I think that's probably the fairest way to do it then, is to do one from Iona on her own, one from yourself on your own, and then maybe 1 or 2 from the EP. That's probably the fairest way to do that. So let's talk a wee bit about how you got to where you are. I know you said, Iona, that you've not really performed live. So I'm taking the assumption there that anything you've ever done, it's always just been recorded, and then you put it out like on Bandcamp or Spotify, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
So I only started releasing my songs in January of this year. I hadn't even really recorded songs before. I wrote them and left them in the drawer on a piece of paper. And it was a New Year's resolution to release a song, so that's where that came from. So that's why I released. So it's just I've got 2, and that's it at the moment. And obviously the ones with Greg. So yeah.
So have you been sort of performing, even at, like, for yourself? Have you been doing that for quite a while, or is it quite a recent incarnation?
What's performing in the house? Yeah, karaoke. Yes.
Yeah, just sort of for yourself, or but not as an individual, is it?
No, I did in the Military Wives Choir. I sang in there for a little while. Oh, sorry, we've got a phone call in the background now.
That's okay.
No,
that's really interesting. So is that I'm going to show my ignorance here when I ask this question. I was just going to say, is the Military Wives Choir exclusively for military wives, or is it just that that's how it started and it's kind of expanded to other people?
No, it is. It's military connections. I was actually in the army, so but I've got a military husband, and so his wife's boys, daughters, and yeah. So there's a lot of different, but you have to have a connection to
right.
sing.
Okay.
To sing.
It's just I wasn't sure of strict is probably not the right word, but I wasn't sure how that sort of came together, if it was just purely somebody with a military connection that had to be involved in it, like you get with quite a lot of other things.
I think they're a bit more strict. I don't think you have to prove it in writing, but
you don't have to turn up in an army uniform or anything like that.
No, you could.
What about you, Greg? How long have you been hashing around in the music scene?
I think I let go of normal life in 2005. I used to work in marketing and do all types of things, but my musical activities were too important for me by that time, and I decided to toss the rest. So and I've been doing lots of things since. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes all of them are interesting. I'm just trying to learn things and be a better version of myself as a musician, and hopefully as a person. But it comes right after the creator, and so I'm still trying things, just like this duet or the album before, and I don't know, God knows what I will find with my crazy mind tomorrow. So I just want to create things. It's just I've always been like this since I was a kid. So
yeah, it was interesting. You said sort of giving up normal life. I had a flashback to my late mother, who, for all the years that I was involved in the entertainment business, always asked me when I was going to get a normal job. And, and I'm like, well, this is a normal job for me,
Yeah. Trust me, in France it's even worse, because out here you're frowned upon when you're an artist. That's my job, but people tend to but that's a hobby. That's not you're not working. You're just laughing and no, that's working. In here it's working 25 hours a day, and I'm part of several shows actually that are my job, my day job too, where I'm a performer on stage, and it's a hell lot of a job. It's hours and days and months of work, but people don't see it. So it's kind of frustrating too, because when you do things, and I'm very proud of everything I do. If I wasn't proud, I wouldn't give it to the world and scream to everybody, listen to it, discover it, just like I do with the Silent Sea. I'm very proud of the EP, and I'm sometimes tired, even more so in France, to have to feel that I'm selling, a part of my soul, so that people would just, accept to give it a glance. And that may seem harsh. I don't know how it's out there elsewhere, but out here it's not. I'm not fashionable. I'm not in the right currents. I'm not in the right music mood and stuff like that. So it's just get a job, do something else, do something funky. Why don't you sing in French and stuff like that? So I've found another life on the internet now that can make me that allows me to be this part of myself without being judged in a way, and so to speak with you and have conversation about all this.
Yeah.
And that's why I created Clint in a way, because my real name is Greg, and I created Clint as a shield at the time, because I needed a character. And now we both get along together, and I don't have any problem with my, psychosis. But anyway.
But well, if you think
things are different.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, one of the greatest of all time, in my humble opinion, David Bowie, reinvented himself more than once. And ultimately it was because, well, at the very beginning, he didn't think he would fit. So he created something, and then he got fed up with that and he created something else, And it was a long, long time before he actually performed just as himself, So it's not unusual for performers to do that. Certainly in the music industry, it's not unusual.
It allows you a freedom that you don't have in the real world, in a way, in the real life. I used to have, and there are projects online that you can find with my real name in a way, and even my real name is nearly a character, because my name is Greg, but it's not Greg with 2 G's like I write it. It's Gregory, but I don't like Gregory because I feel like I'm at school, and anyway. Kid memories. But so I created this Greg with 2 G's to. This was the first step to be a musician and to be an entertainer and to be a performer, and then Clint came out because I was a mess at this point in my life. I was a total wreck, and Clint Slate comes from clean slate. And I just thought, okay, this is what I need. This is what I will be, and he will take the lights, and I will take the sadness and the bleak and the dark and all you want. And all this from Bowie. It comes also from Bowie, because I remember that Bowie said at one point, I wasn't born with talent. I learned how to have talent, and I worked my ass off to have talent, and I never forgot that. And I always thought, okay, if this guy who could do anything just worked to worked his chops all day long, I have to do the same. And so I do. And still, but I'm very talkative, and you should talk about this with Iona and with the rest of it.
Well, I was just going to sort of try and expand on what you just said there with Iona. Obviously, you said that you had been in the military, but have you always been musical? Even growing up, but perhaps not thinking about a career in music business.
I played the flute in the school band. Then I tried my hand at guitar playing, but not so good. Played the piano a little bit. So it's all a little bit of everything, but not a lot of something. So just little bits here and there, really. And then obviously joining the choir and things. So this was me just trying to release a spark, trying to do something a bit different.
In some ways as well, I suppose being in the choir is a bit like having another persona, because unless you're doing a solo part with a choir, you're just like in the background, really, aren't you, amongst however many other people there are in the choirs. And I must admit, when I was younger, I didn't really like choirs. They always came across to me as being really old-fashioned. And it's only as I've kind of got older, probably from about my mid-30s onwards, that I've started to appreciate choirs more often. And it came around really because I was in the States and I saw, one of these Negro church choirs, actually in the church, which why I went into the church is beyond me even at this point. But that really fired me up, not just the fact that these people were fantastic singers, but there was just pure enthusiasm for what they were doing, And I started to look it out much more often, and I thought to myself, I don't know why, I kind of discounted this, because I very rarely discount anything to do with music. You know, I'll listen to all sorts of music, and I appreciate all sorts of music. There are certain types of music that I probably wouldn't play on the radio show, just purely because of the time that it's on, and there's an awful lot of swearing in the songs. So, but it does catch me out. You know, I must admit, it does catch me out sometimes. You know, I don't think about it, and I think, oh yeah, I'm going to play such and such today, and then it starts playing, and then suddenly it comes out with all these expletives, you know, and I'm like, oh no, what have I done? You know, but nobody's complained yet, so I'm getting away with it. And I suppose with it being an internet radio station, it's a wee bit looser, and as much as, you know, the regulation isn't the same way it is with the sort of mainstream radio stations. So with thinking about the whole COVID thing still, because it's still such a huge thing, do you think, both of you, either together or separately, do you think that it has been a benefit in some ways for you as an artist, as opposed to, you know, being the all-encompassing curse that it may have been for many others? Anybody?
I think for me, I've benefited from it. Sorry, because I wouldn't have worked with Greg without it, because he would have been very busy doing his theatre and everything else. So he wouldn't. I don't think he would have put his name into the collaboration. I wouldn't have. I don't think so. So I think I've benefited from that. I don't think I would have been releasing an EP like this. So yeah, I think I've benefited from this. And yeah, so I don't want to say it's a good thing, but something good has come from something really bad. Yeah.
How about you, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was quite a shock when everything shut down in Paris. And as I didn't know what to do, I did what I know. So I just played, and I just got back to my songwriting too. So I did an album. I did a cover album during the lockdown, then I did another album, and then I met Iona and I did another EP, and I actually, and I have trouble accepting that, but I'm better now because of COVID. Because of this lockdown and stuff, I played all the time, and I really worked hard just to have a reason, you know, to get up and get out of bed, and turn this into some silver lining, and I'm really happy I did, because otherwise it would have been really bleak, and it's not. It's very poetic. It turns all this crisis and all this gloom in something very poetic. And thanks to Iona, mainly, because I'm not that poetic, and I'm more into the gloom, you know, part. And she brings the poetry to the gloomness of the thing.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I must admit, the benefit that I've got from it is doing things like this, because prior to this happening, if I was going to interview somebody, they would come into the radio studio, you know, and we would do it there. Obviously, if you're from a different country, then it's difficult for you to do so. But it has benefited me greatly in that respect, that I've had to learn new skills, and I had to put together a home studio to be able to broadcast. So, I mean, going forward, for me, ideally I want to get back into the recording studio, but it's also got me doing different things as well, other than just doing the radio stuff. So it's got me involved in other projects as well. So I find that really, really good. So for the future, either together or individually, is there anything that you would like to do that perhaps you haven't done yet? Either or. Both thinking very, very
No, actually, and that would be a first for me. And I really want our collaboration to endure. And so it's a first for me because I've never done, how could I call that, sequels in a way, you know. So so several steps, you know, from the same stairs. I don't know where I'm going. This EP is the first chapter of something else. And that's very interesting. So and as long as Iona is able to cope with my erratic behavior, that's okay.
What about you, Iona? Have you thought very far ahead?
So we're obviously working together, and we've made quite a few songs. So working on that collaboration, that's for the future. And for myself, my own music that I had prior to this collaboration, looking at that as well. And I don't know, other collaborations, I suppose. I think it's opened my eyes. Working with Greg has made me realise that maybe that's where I do better, maybe musically, is working with others. And I think that connection, that bouncing off and having somebody else's opinion rather than it's just mine, because at the moment my songs are me, and that is it. Nobody else, just me. And so working with somebody else and working with Greg, it's been really good to do that. So that's that for the future.
I mean, I've kind of experienced it from both sides. You know, I've performed solo and I've also performed as part of a group. So I enjoy the kind of collaborative aspect of being in a group, but there was a time, you know, that I thought, I just don't want to be here, you know. But that just kind of happens with, you know, when you're in a band and stuff like that. But I just hope that we, you know, whenever this whole mess gets sorted out, the only thing I want to do is to get out to go and watch live bands again, because it's the one thing that I really miss, not being able to do, because most of my weekends were taken up by going to the football during the daytime, and then in the evenings I would be hitting the bars, you know, to try and find new acts, new bands, singers, etc. Which I've been kind of lucky in a way because it's been happening through the radio as well. But you kind of lose not having that on the spot, you know, somebody grabbing you, you know, because sometimes you can go into a bar and there's a singer or a band on, and right from the opening chords, you're captured. And sometimes when you're listening to things that they've recorded and they've sent to you, you have to listen to it a few times to really get a feel of them, you know. So unfortunately, the wee clock at the top of my screen here is telling me that we're almost out of time. We've got roughly about maybe about 5 minutes or so. Is there anything? Well, actually, something I did want to ask you, Greg. Actually, I just remembered about it. How did you come to send your music to me to begin with?
Through all this Twitter labyrinth, you know, magic maze.
Right.
Because everything I found this last year since lockdown was from Twitter, because I ended up, and I really don't know how, in an amazing music community, and I just happened to find Iona, find you, and find new audiences, new collaborators, new everything, and that's just great. So to me, Twitter is the new marketplace, you know, the new record store that we may miss from the old days. So it's quite cool.
Yeah, because I must admit, I've got people from quite varied places in the world sending me stuff now, you know, and I'm always curious as to how they picked up on it. Some of it's because they've stumbled across the radio station, you know, with it being on the internet. Some of it's somebody's mentioned it to them, and like yourself, some of it's been, you know, they've come across it through Twitter and stuff. And it's always interesting to find out, you know, how people kind of get hold of you, as it were. And so in that respect, we'll probably have to say thank you very much. Once again, I apologise for my lateness. It's not like me. But the show goes out on Saturdays, 11 o'clock local here. So it'll be like 12 o'clock for you, Greg. So, sorry, 10 o'clock it goes out. The Zoom will go out about 11 o'clock my time. It also goes on to Mixcloud. So if you don't catch it when it's on, you can get it on the Mixcloud by searching on there for Indyliveradio, okay? But certainly I'll be tweeting about it, and it'll be going up on Facebook and stuff like that, and Instagram in relation to Indyliveradio. So if you come across it, by all means, you know, feel free to retweet it and pass it out amongst, you know, your greater audience or colleagues, as it were. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm really happy to have spoken to both of you.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
thanks now. Bye-bye.
Indyliveradio.